Hello everyone, I'm going to be talking about the training of the Lord today. And Moses, when he was in Egypt, he was called as a deliverer and he killed the Egyptian. He tried to do it on his own strength and he failed miserably. But then he went out into the desert and he was with his father-in-law there, and the Lord began to train him. And at the end, Moses, it said, was the meekest man on earth. And we have all a training process that we have to go through, a period in time where there's a preparation time, there's a purification time, there is a preparing time by the Lord, and we have to submit to his training. We have to be obedient. When the Lord tells us to do something, we have to obey, because if we don't obey, then we're going to stay at the same level. And you have to climb God's rankings. You have to pass all your tests. You have to work on your character and have your character purified so that you can be ready to be used by God. And I went through this process myself. My first 7 years was actually as a custodian. I went from being a drug dealer making big money to being a custodian, cleaning bathrooms and vacuuming floors. But it shaped me into the person who I was supposed to be. And a year and a half after getting saved, the Lord called me into the ministry. But it was 9.5 years before that came to pass. And the Lord told me, you're going to be like Joseph. And it's going to be years before you get into ministry, because when he first told me, I'm like, okay, ministry's coming. But there was a training process that I had to go through, and that every minister and servant of God has to go through. So I want to encourage you that you need to submit to what the Lord is doing. And when he calls you into ministry, it doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. It was 9.5 years for me. I have a pastor friend of mine who passed away, but I asked him, what's the greatest thing God taught you? And he said, the timing of the Lord. He said, the Lord said, now you're going to enter full-time ministry. And that didn't happen until around 7 years later. So the thing is that the Lord's time is different than our time. And we want to be those who submit to the Lord's training, because we're going to be prepared to be used by God. And your character has to be purified, so when God pours his anointing on you, that when God pours his presence and his power on you and uses you in a mighty way, that you won't blow up. Often, too many times, we see these preachers that go into ministry and they shoot up, and then they I don't mean to say this bad, but they blow up. They fall into sin, or they fall somehow. And that's because we need the character to be able to sustain what God is going to do. And you get that character by submitting to the Lord's training, by not going ahead of the Lord and jumping into ministry when it's not your time. Also by allowing him to work on your character. And when he starts pointing stuff out, you take what he is saying, you apply it into your life, and then you say, Lord, I'm not going to do that certain thing anymore. And you just allow the Lord to purify your character and raise you up and mature you. And there's all sorts of ways that God will mature you. But I just want to encourage you guys, allow the Lord to do his work. Submit to God and allow him to train you and build you up and teach you and prepare you. And just get ready, because the time will come when God will release you into your destiny, and then you're going to be able to handle it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.